5 p.m. on Tuesday, September 9th. That means Ask a Headhunter Live. And here I am. And we already got our first guest, Brent, stopping by to say hi. So let's bring him in. And remember, if you're watching, you can call in a number somewhere, or you can join and ask questions all you want. But while we're waiting for Brent to join, some insights, I guess, if you guys like Loxo, they got some natural language stuff that they're doing. Welcome, Brent. How are you?
Good. How about yourself?
Every day above ground's a wonderful day. I woke up with the right side of the dirt. It's all that matters.
That is good.
Oh, damn it. Except I forgot to get a soda.
No, you need that. If you don't have your Diet Coke, forget about it.
Exactly. So how was your Monday? How's your Tuesday? And what's going on in the life of Brent Stash?
It's going. I'm trying to market somebody for construction, a senior PM who's done data center builds and semiconductor fabrication. And that was my question for you today.
What's wrong with them if you haven't placed them already?
Yeah. Well, I'd love to learn how you would market somebody. Like, is it, like if you do the whole, like Peter Lefkowitz, he's like, oh, I had an interesting conversation, and at the end of it, the guy mentioned that he's interested in, 2 companies, and one of them was yours. And it's kind of like,
how good the guy is.
Really long.
It really depends on how good the guy is, right? So you may have heard me say this before. I had the #1 sales rep from a large metal roofing company, right? It wasn't the biggest one, but it was a large company. And I called every single sales manager, regional manager, VP of sales at all of the competitors and said, how would you like to interview the #1 sales rep from your direct competitor? That was my entire pitch, right? And just shut up and wait till they talk. Now, I don't know how good your candidate is, right? I don't know is he really an MPC or not, right? But if he's a really good MPC, I'm going to market him on the phone, right? Very how would you be interested in interviewing the #1 project manager in data centers in Seattle or whatever? Because the idea behind what so many people forget to do when they're marketing is they sell features, not benefits, right? So if you have a good data center project manager, let's say that has 10 years experience and 5 years in mission critical data centers, has a track record of bringing projects in on time and under budget, right? There's your pitch, right? He has a track record for the last 4 years in a row of bringing every project he worked on time and under budget. His smallest project was $7 million. His biggest project was $31 million, which means he could come on board tomorrow and hit the ground running with little or no training and bring any data center project you have in on time and under budget. And that is at least worth the cost or the price of a conversation. Don't you think, Mr. Employer?
Mm-hmm.
I mean that, and now again, if you would prefer to kind of broadcast him out with a more of an MPC type email, you can do that too, right? You could find, you can go on the ENR or whatever and find who all the companies that build data centers are, right? And if this guy's
this?
What? You didn't do that?
No, what's ENR?
Oh, Brent, really? Engineering News Record. It's one of the top so Engineering News Record, Design, DBIA, Design Build Institute of America. You got ABC, American Building Construction. You got AGC, the Association of General Contractors. Right? Those are the 4 things. But if you put in somebody's told me I could. Oh, here we go. So, actually, does it build here? I'll share this. I'll share my screen with you so you can see it. But this is one of the good ones to go off of, right? So this was right here, we have the top 50 data center construction firms in 2024, according to Building Design and Construction, right? So Holder, HTT, Turner, DPR, Clayco, Fortis, Mortensen, Whiting, Turner, and Clune, stay away from. They're gigantic freaking companies, right? But if you come down here into this area, right, there are some bigger ones like AECom's gigantic, but they only did 43 million. So you can look at these and like see, is there a division? Is there someone in Seattle or Atlanta or wherever your guy is, and market to the director of construction, the VP of construction, or whatever? In fact, if you wanted to, I wouldn't send anything to some of these companies just because they're too big. But if you want to like grab these, ask the comment right here, can you find me, from number 12 to 38 on this list, a LinkedIn profile for a VP of construction or a director of construction in Georgia, Southeast, Midwest, or whatever, and have it do it for you or do it yourself. That's what I would do if you're going to do like the email blast, and then send out an email blast that says, hot MPC alert, data center project manager, 10 years experience. All of his projects have been on time and under budget. If you have an interest in talking to this guy, give me a call. My name's Brent. Here's my phone number. That's all I would say, right? I'm a big keep it simple, stupid kind of guy, right? That's what I would say, right? There's another one, like if you do like assumptive opening for you who watch an assumptive email. Hi, my name's Tom Alascio. You and I have never, interacted before. I just got done a search for a client very similar to Brassfield and Gorey. We were looking for a data center project manager, and I had two guys that came in late to the search or came in late to the process. After my client already made a guy an offer, both candidates are willing to relocate, have data center and mission critical backgrounds, and bachelor's of science in building construction. If you would have an interest in talking to either one of them, give me a call, or have any other opportunities we can help you with, give me a call. Thanks. Bye, Tom. Right? You could send that out too, right? We call that the keep it simple, stupid. The KISS email is what we call that one, right? Mm-hmm. But that's kind of how. But again, if I have a project manager that you can talk about, like that you're, and here's what I tell people: you should be excited about your candidate, right? If you're calling up VPs of construction and you got a data center project manager who's a rock star, you should be as excited as if you're calling about the tickets you won at a concert, right? Or that your daughter just had your first grandchild or whatever. I would have like, hey, Brent, this is Tom Alascio. I know you and I've never spoken before. I know you're busy. I'll be brief. I'm a headhunter. I work specifically in data centers and mission critical facilities. And I just got off the phone with a project manager I think you guys need to talk to. Every single project he has done has come in on time and under budget, which means he can hit the ground running tomorrow if you have a data center that's in trouble, or even just a data center you want to make sure your clients are able to do. And that's that, or make sure that your clients are happy with or whatever. Would you have an open, when would you like to talk with the guy? I'm going to be that excited about the guy, right? So that's what I would do. I know I'm giving you a lot of information. There are a lot of different ways. Heather Galloway's joining us. Hey, Heather. There's a lot of different ways you can do this, but at the end of the day, make sure it's a real MPC. Is someone willing to pay you a $30,000 or $40,000 fee or $20,000, whatever the salary is, for this guy or gal? And do you have features and benefits that you can sell when you talk about them? Those are the two most important things.
Okay.
Yeah, that's. Okay. I mean, there's a lot of other little parts and pieces in there. I can get granular with you if you like. After this call or whatever. But at the end of the day, those are the most important things, right? You have to have a candidate that is truly an MPC, and your pitch has to have features and benefits, so the employer has tangible stuff they can grasp a hold of, and you have to be excited about it, and you have to be prepared. What are you going to be prepared for? Send me your resume. We don't have any openings. How much is your fee? You need to talk to HR. We have talent acquisition. Those are the 5 things you're going to. Or yes, I'd love to talk to them. We'll go from there. So what a lot of people, they'll get excited about a candidate, and then all of a sudden they'll start getting, we don't have any openings, send me a resume. What are you going to say, right? So be prepared for that, right?
Yeah. What do you say in those? Like, we don't have any openings. Like let's
I didn't call you, Brent. I didn't call you because I thought you had an opening. I called you because I have a guy right now that if you called me tomorrow and say, hey, Brent, find me a a mission critical data center project manager, it could take me 5 to 6 months to find a guy this good. So I think that's at least worth a conversation, don't you, Brent? Because who knows when you may have another opening. Who knows when, after talking to this guy, you realize you have a spot for him. And that's what I do. I find people like this for companies like yours.
Okay.
Send me a resume.
Send me his resume.
I didn't call you to see if you wanted to look at a resume. I called you because I have a candidate that if you called me tomorrow and said, hey, find me this guy, it made me take me 6 weeks to find him. Why wouldn't you want to talk to him right now? I have no problem sending you a resume down the road, but if all you're doing, and look, I've been doing this a long time, Brett, there's only 3 reasons why you're asking me to send you a resume. 1, you actually have a need and you'd be really excited to look at my candidate. 2, you get called by shitty recruiters all the time who tell you they have a great candidate, turns out to be a dud, or you're too nice of a guy to tell me to go pound sand. Which one is it? The idea behind overcoming the objection is 2 things. 1, is it a real objection? Do they have an opening? Do they not have an opening? Are they just trying to get you off the phone, right? That's what it is, right? And when you break up the conversation with any type of rebuttal, you don't have to be good at it. If you just break up the conversation, that's different than 99% of the other recruiters out there that they're dealing with, right? That they don't do that. So when you're able to break the conversation and break that out of their, like, oh shit, here's a recruiter actually talking to me and he actually has a good point. What the fuck am I going to do? Right? That is the point of overcoming the objection and trying to figure out if it's real. He may say to you, when I say the 3 things, he may say, Tom, you got me. I'm trying to get you off the phone because I literally cannot pay fees right now. Our company's in bankruptcy. Now I know. Or, Tom, you know what? We've had such a horrible track record with using recruiters. I was told by my boss, if I was to use another recruiter, I'd get fired. Right? Or, hey, Tom, you know what? I actually do have a need. You caught me at a bad time. Can we talk tomorrow at 4 o'clock? Right? All you're trying to do is differentiate yourselves from all the other recruiters that call them and determine whether or not that objection is a real objection. We have a TA department. Like that's fine, Bob. A, I'm not trying to replace your TA department. B, that shows me that like you really care about your organization and you have a good team in place to fill those positions that are hard to fill. The reason I'm calling you now is because I have a candidate that, from my understanding, I've been doing this a very long time. It's a very hard position to fill. If you actually have a position open for a data center project manager and you're telling me that it's only been open for a week or 2, then, hey, you guys are outstanding. But if you have an opening for a data center project manager and you've seen that it's very difficult for your TA team to fill that type of position, then talk to my guy. And remember, it's free to talk to my guy. It's absolutely free to talk to my guy. It's only going to cost you any money if you decide to hire him. So, in fact, you should make it incumbent upon me to bring you somebody that makes you jump up and down and you're willing to pay my fee. Does that make sense, Brent?
That does.
Yeah. We don't use recruiters. Dude, that is awesome, man. Good for you. Because I need sources. And if I know you never use recruiters, I know where I'm going to find all my people from. Now, I know you're laughing and everything, and I'm going to give you some free. Don't ever tell a recruiter that again, Brent, because you just put a big bullseye on your back. Every recruiter you tell, you ever use recruiters, is going to add you to their source list. Do you really want recruiters calling all your people? No, all your people may be happy, but look, a blind dog finds a bone every now and then, and one of these dumbass recruiters may call one of your guys you yelled at him last week, his wife is unhappy and they want to move or whatever, and boom, you're out of person. Don't ever say that, right? Think of something. Tell them to send you a resume, because most shitty recruiters will do that, but don't ever tell, especially somebody like me, you don't pay fees, you don't use recruiters, because I'm going to turn you into a source. And look, it doesn't work every time, but the idea I try to instill in people is if you continue to do it, you're going to get better at it, and it's going to work some of the time, which is going to put you way ahead of the game than all the other recruiters out there who just say, oh, okay, Brent, that sounds good. I'll tell you what, I'll send you a connection on LinkedIn. If anything changes, don't hesitate to reach out. Click. That's what 99% of the recruiters do. Do you think that they're remembered? Now, let me ask you this question. Do you think the guy that I say, congratulations, oh, that's awesome, now I have sources, is going to remember who I am?
Mm-hmm.
Do you think the guy that says there's only 3 reasons why, and the third one is to tell me to go pound sand, is going to remember who I am? That is one of the most important things. If you cannot get any type of information, like you can't get them to send out, you can't get a job order, you need to fact find. And if you can't fact find, you need to make sure they remember who you are. I call it mad or glad. They need to be mad or glad that they talk to you on the phone. They do not need to be mad like they are with every other recruiter that calls. You have to make an impact. You have to be like, they have to get out the phone and go, who the fuck was that nut job? Jesus, Tom will ask you. And then they see my connection request and they accept it. And they say things like, hey, that was the most interesting call I've ever had. You know, if we ever have an opening, I'll call you. And I'll tell this story. I've told this a million times. When I worked at Peterson Consulting Group in Vero Beach, Florida, I was marketing a structural engineer to it was a guy who wanted to move to Orlando or Cocoa or wherever. I called the engineering manager of a company called Tilden, Lobditz, and Cooper in they had an office in Cocoa Beach. They're now called TLC Engineer for Architecture. Talked to this guy. Actually, I should remember his name, but I don't. We had a good conversation. He said, Tom, we don't have any openings. I do the stuff that I do, right? This is before LinkedIn. You got to remember, before LinkedIn. Okay? I do the stuff that I do. Obnoxious, remember who I am, whatever. 6 months, 5 months, 4 months later, I don't remember exactly, but it was that same year. I get a call from him. It says, Tom, this is so-and-so from TLC. You called me about a structural engineering position or a structural engineering candidate you had. We actually have a need now. Can you help us? No problem. That company paid me over $150,000 in fees over the next 18 months. I made placements with them all over Orlando, Tampa, Jacksonville, Cocoa Beach. From that phone call, remembering who I was, and that guy called me back. You know, he got called by recruiters all the time. Why did he call me? That is what's so important when you're out there marketing, when you're out there cold calling. It is so important for you to make a impact so they remember who you are. That you're not just any other recruiter out there. You are the number one recruiter in data centers. You're the number one recruiter in food manufacturing. You're the number one recruiter in whatever the industry is. That you have to have it's not bragging if it's true, right? And if you can't get that excitement, you can't have that guy remember who you are, it makes it a lot more difficult, right? I'm not saying that the introverts can't do this job. I'm not saying that you can't make 100 phone calls and have a very mundane professional sales pitch and make placements. But I have found the reason why I am successful is because people remember who I am. Now, maybe it's because of my name, right? Hard to forget, right? John Smith versus Thomas Lashley, or Tom Lashley, spelled with an H, T-H-O-M, right? But I'm also obnoxious. I'm also jovial. I crack jokes. I say crazy stuff on the phone. One of my favorite things with candidates, right? When I'm cold calling a candidate and I try to hit them, I'm happy where I'm at. No, you're not. I'm not looking. No, you're not, right? And we start talking and we get somewhere. I say this, hey, before I go, take my phone number and put it behind your spouse's picture. And they go, what? I go, yeah, call me before you get fired or laid off, before you call her. If you get fired or laid off, call me before you call her or call him, and I'll help you with the job. Now, when that starts out, like, and I'm being a little, unpolitically correct, because it used to be mostly guys that I would talk to and put my number behind your wife's picture. And that would freak them out a little bit. Why am I putting your number behind my wife's picture? So if the shit hits the fan and you get laid off, you call me before you call her. They remember me when I say that, right? That is an obnoxious thing to say. It's not out of line. It's pretty, not normal, but it actually has, it's not, I'm not trying to be, crass or whatever. It's just a very, to the point. And then they remember who I am and they call me back. There used to be a recruiter, worked for Next Level Exchange. It's K Bassman International, KBEC, whatever, who worked construction in Florida. I cannot remember his name. He used to use the term monkey fucking a football. That was a term he would use a lot. And people will remember that. A monkey screwing a football, right? That was like a term of his. And people remembered him for that, right? So look at the shark, right? You know who the shark is do you know who the shark is? The recruiter shark? He's all over LinkedIn.
Oh, that guy out of Pennsylvania or West Virginia.
Rhodes. It's not Rich Rhodes. It's the other guy. But like, that's his. You want to talk about branding? You want to talk about a moniker, right? Everybody remembers who that guy is because he is the shark. I'm the recruiting shark, right? You could do that. It's when you're out there, we're on the phone, right? You're in an email. You have to have. You're not face to face with someone, right? When you're face to face with someone, when you're selling cars, when you're selling, widgets, when you're selling yachts, boats, jets, whatever. My son's a yacht salesman. Right, you're meeting people face to face. You shake hands. How are you, buddy? You're talking about. You're like, it's a different thing when you're on the phone, right? All you got is a voice. You have to be so different because they're getting calls all the time. Not only are they getting called by recruiters, they're getting called by salesmen. They're getting called by clients and all kinds of crap. So that's why you have to really think about how you're going to differentiate yourself from the rest of the people out there that are calling him. So he remembers who you are. So she remembers who you are. So she calls you when she has an opening. She calls you when she wants to make a job change. He calls you when his boss yells at him. That's what you want to be. And I've said this before. If I call someone tomorrow that I talked to in the last, say, 6 months to a year, and they go, "Who is this? Who are you again? I don't recognize your name." I failed. I failed on the last time I talked to that guy or gal. If they do not remember who I am, I failed. And that is what is very important about the MPC call. Does that answer your question?
It does.
Long-winded, but I think it's important for people to understand how important that part of what we do is, right? It's very important because if you can't differentiate yourself, especially in our industry, right? There's no barrier to entry. So any idiot with a phone can call themselves a recruiter. So how are you going to differentiate yourself? That is, and look, it's harder on email, right? That's why I'm not big. And Jeff and I were talking about email earlier today. Not big on email because I can't make that impact, right? Now, I do have an email campaign because the company Noon AI, which by the way, they're sourcing, Noon AI sourcing part was really impressive. But really? I'm not big, and it's $500 a month, right? But it includes unlimited phones, unlimited emails, lookups, right? Unlimited campaigns, and it's per team. It's not per seat, it's per the team, right? So if you, anybody watch this, where if you have 3 or 4 people, Noon's probably not a bad one to look at for the cost, right? It does a LinkedIn connection request as part of their campaign, and it does an email. So for my 4th email on this one search that I was doing, I actually put in like some funniness at the end for people to remember me. It was like, insert guilt trip here for not replying to my email, right? Because everybody tries to do that, right? They try to put in like, I'm trying one last time before I decide never to call. I don't do shit like that, right? That's not me, right? So on the Noon thing, I put in, let's see if I can find, I'll give you the word for word what I said. I said, count. When the last email says, insert guilt trip subject line. That's what it says in the subject line. Insert guilt trip subject line. Knock, knock, first name. Just sending you one, I promise, final note about the senior position. See, so please think of an obnoxious, guilt-ridden sentence designed to make you feel bad for not replying. Sending this with hopeful puppy eyes, Tom. That's my last email. That guy's gonna, if whoever reads that's going to remember that, because nobody sends crap like that, but I do, because they're going to remember that now. Do you believe I got this email from this recruiter and it said, think of an obnoxious, guilt-ridden sentence designed to make you feel bad for not replying? Like, it's like, self-deprecating. People love self-deprecating humor. That's what that is. And that's how I can make an impact on email, like how I can get people to remember me. So if I'm going to do an email campaign, I'm always going to have my last email is always going to be something like this. I had one I did a while back using Loxo forms, right? That had 3 choices, and it was a link. You clicked in Loxo, right? The forms we have. The one was not now, but in the future I might be interested, right? And then you clicked it and it filled out like, how often do you want me to call you? Where would you relocate to? It was kind of neat, right? And a lot of people clicked it. Another one that was like, I'm interested, call me at this time. And the third one was, I can't stand you and I wish you would go away. And when you clicked on it, it said, really? And then if you click it, it said, if you really click yes, tell me your email and I'll never contact you again. I think one person filled it out. But how many, but a ton of people clicked it, right? Because I can see clicks and I can see people who actually filled it out. And so they're going to remember me. How many people do that? How many people put a link that says, instead of unsubscribe, it said, click here if you never want to hear from me again, or something like that, or you wish I would go away. Right? I have another one I used to send out as a fax machine, right? If you did not return my phone call and I was trying to get a hold of you, I sent a fax, right? And now I send an email that says, please check the reason why you have not returned my phone call. And it was like, I'm really busy. I'm sorry, I'll get back to you. The second one was something about it's on my schedule, right? And I've just been bogged. The third one was I've been captured by aliens. Please call the Men in Black. And the fourth one was, I think you're annoying and wish you would go away. And it had boxes with check marks. I would send that, and every single time I would get a call back. And I had Kim James, president of Valley Joints West, called and said, she called me, say, Thomas, Kim, I really wish you would go away, but I need you too bad to fill positions for us. So let's talk, right? So like she even got a joke out of it. So that's the kind of stuff that's going to separate you from the other recruiters. People say it comes off unprofessional. Well, I think an industry where any idiot with a phone can call themselves a recruiter is lacking in some professionalism as it is. And I also don't take myself that seriously because you all have seen my signature, right? A signature that's this long that talks about put a circle around you with salt so demons don't hurt you. And the very first line of my signature says at the very bottom, disclaimer, right? You know, most people say if you didn't get this email, please, delete it or whatever. Mine says, if you received this email by mistake, close your eyes now. That's the first line of my disclaimer. And then it goes into a long diatribe about, this isn't protected by witches and all kinds of crap, right? And nobody ever reads it, but the people who do, they love it and they respond. I just read your disclaimer is the funniest thing I've ever heard. And I have a little count. I'm like 107 people since I started my firm have actually read it and responded. In the millions of emails that I've sent, like 107 people have actually saw that and said, can I use them? Go ahead. It's not mine. I pieced it apart from a couple other ones that I found that I thought were cool. But that's the kind of stuff people remember me. You spell my name with an H, right? I went to a trade show where I had tons of my clients that I had never met before in Kennedy Square. It was one trade show I've always wanted to go to. I heard somebody, there's Tom, because I could see the H. There's Tom with an H. There's Tom with an H. All over when I was walking the trade show floor, right? Stuff like that. That's important. Building your business, marketing, NPCs, marketing via email, on the phone, is very, very important. Anybody else? Anybody else got questions? Jeff, Heather.
Thank you.
Of course. And if you have questions,
I was curious
talk about it.
Yeah, in the beginning you were talking about like objections with clients. When you're looking for like those clients that are giving you like the candidate positions and openings and stuff, are you looking specifically for specific companies that you're targeting, like that you want as clients? Or are you looking for certain things like, oh, okay, this company is like X amount of size and I'm in like this space that,
Both.
I need to, yeah.
Both.
Okay.
Right. So there are companies I want to do work with, right? Because of their reputation and the type of people they hire, right? So I got a new client a couple months ago, and I specifically sought them out. Like I wanted them as a client because I know the type of people they hire. It's in my wheelhouse. It's what I'm known for. So I wanted to work with them, right? But in Brent's case, if I'm marketing an MPC, I'm just going to go find every mission critical data center construction company, right, that does that. I'm also probably going to look at subcontractors too, depending on what his candidate's background is, right? I'm going to look for things like if you were expanding, and we've talked about this before on like Sales Navigator. So one cool thing about Sales Navigator in the accounts section is you can look up companies that have LinkedIn profiles, we're talking about, one HR person or less, right? That includes talent acquisition. So you go into Sales Navigator. Let's say you're going to go into roofing, commercial roofing, right? And you find all these commercial roofing contractors that you want to go after. And you sort by one HR manager or less. What are the chances are that they need a recruiter or would use a recruiter because they don't have a talent acquisition team? They don't have a big HR department, right? Those are ripe for the picking. in terms of, hey, my name's Tom Alashu, and I spoke before. I specialize in commercial roofing. I just got done talking to an estimator who's got a background in EPDM, built up and modified bitumen. He has, done hard bid and private negotiated estimating. In fact, in the last 7 years in a row, he was our number one estimator. He got projects in, and because of his estimates, they were, X, Y, and Z, and PD and Q. When would you like to talk with them? Right? Like, those companies pay fees. And people ask me all the time, is there a company that won't pay a fee? I mean, think about how much a fee is. If a company is making more than, say, $1 million a year net profit, a $10,000, $20,000 fee is nothing. One of my clients has 23 employees. No, not even that. 13 employees, and does, I don't know, $14, $15 million a year, but they do it at 10 to 12% margins. So they make $1 million easy every year. Paying me a couple fees to get them guys so they can make their $1 million is nothing to them. And they pay 25%, no questions asked, $3,000 retainer, no questions asked. And they got, two principals, a couple engineers, a couple estimators, a project manager, 2 sales guys, and some detailers. That's it. And they're all remote. Right? So it doesn't have to be big companies, right? Will they pay your fee, and can you attract people to them? This is a small client, but guess what? They got really good benefits, right? That they pay their employees, right? They 100% remote. They give you $4,000 or $5,000 if you're a detailer or an engineer for buying a computer, buying a laptop and monitors and all the stuff you need, right? They're not afraid to spend money because they're making money. And companies that get all bent out of shape, like any candidate that I bring you, I'm good at what I do. My candidates stay. You should not care about the fee because they're going to make you so much money, it doesn't matter. And if you didn't have the candidate, you wouldn't be making the money. Right? I'm doing a sales search right now. The territory is doing $508,000. Right? It's easily a $4 million territory. The guy that I get them is going to make them, say, the first year, $3 million in sales, right? That's going to make that company easily $700,000-800,000 net profit on that product line they're selling. My fee, my $25,000 fee, because $100,000 compensation factor you give them, is nothing to make $700,000. Who here would pay out $25,000 to make $500,000 over the next? If I said to you, if you give me $25,000, I guarantee you, this time next year, I will hand you a check for $500,000. Would you do it? Right? That's a no-brainer. It's a no-brainer. Now, there are, because candidates can say no, because candidates can quit, get hit by cars, right? It's not a piece of machinery. There's no guarantee like a piece of machinery. There are variables that, that end up happening. But at the end of the day, if you're good at what you do and your candidates stay, your client should have no problem paying your fee. They shouldn't, because the people that you bring them make them 3, 4, 5, 10 times more than whatever your fee was. And they can't find them on their own. That's why I get really upset. Not upset. That's why I harp on the fact that we are supposed to bring our clients candidates they cannot find on their own. That's why I asked you about your MPC, Brent. Is this someone they can find on their own? Right? If it's not, then he's an MPC. When you get a search and you expect the client to stroke you a check for $25,000 and you think you're going to run an ad on Monster and Career Builder and LinkedIn and all the candidates that come in, you're going to sort and send in and get a $25,000 fee, your client can fucking do that. That's not what you're paid for. You're paid for to find the people who are gainfully employed, who aren't looking at Monster, who aren't looking at jobs on LinkedIn, who aren't reading the want ads. That was the old thing you would do, and bring them to your client. Convince them, sell them, whatever you want to use, that, hey, there is a better opportunity in your backyard, that you are not working for the best company in your backyard, that your skill is wasted where you are now, and you should talk to my client. That what you're doing now is not beneficial to you and your family, because if you were working for my client, you'd have more work-life balance, you'd have more money in your pocket, a better retirement plan, and more room to grow. Why wouldn't you want to talk to my client? That's what you should be bringing to your client. Not unemployed, unhappy, and unqualified people that are responding to the ads that you put on Career Builder and Monster. Because they get those people. When they run those ads, they get those people.
Sometimes, if it's a larger company, but some of these smaller companies that you're talking about, they don't want to do that. I'm not disagreeing with the value that we bring, but there's also some value in smaller companies doing that for them.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. You can do RPO, and you can in certain situations. I've gotten big fees from running ads by accident, right? One I used is Monster called me and gave me like a free trial for a month. And I said, well, if I get a candidate that I can place that I wouldn't have found elsewhere, I'll sign up for the year. This was very early on, started my firm, 2011, 2012. And I had a search for a project manager in Boston who had experience in, I don't even remember. It was something strange, but it's not super strange, but it was a little strange. And I was like, man, this could be a hard search, right? So I'm putting my thing together. I decided to run the ad on Monsters. A candidate from California who was originally from Boston and was moving back, saw my job posting, called me, and he was a slam dunk for the position. He worked for a direct competitor on the West Coast, and they didn't have an office on the East Coast. They interviewed him, hired him over the phone or over Zoom or whatever you want to call it, and I got a fee for him from that ad. I never would have found that candidate otherwise, right? Never would have found that candidate otherwise. So I signed up for Monster for the year. I don't think I made another placement for Monster, but they made it was like I think it was like what I ended up paying like $4,000 for the year, but I got a $20,000 fee. So it was what I was a man of my word and I signed up for it. So that does happen. I made a placement a couple of years ago. Our applicant tracking system automatically posts on ZipRecruiter. A Navy SEAL responded to one of my ads. I put the whole list together. I had like 60 people, was sending out my LinkedIn connection request, the whole process that I do. And this was on a Friday. I posted the job, started sourcing everything. I come in Monday morning and there's this guy. He responds to that. I call him and he's unbelievable. I got a $34,000 fee for that guy. They hired him within a week of him responding to that ad. I never had to make a single phone call, send out a single connection request, do anything. Right?
Wow.
Those are anomalies, though. So it does happen. It does happen. Does that answer your question, Sazita? Because I mean, like at the end of the day, I want to work with companies who want to work with me, and I want to work with companies who see the value in what I bring to them. Right? I don't want to fight people for fees. I don't want to have to fight over every candidate. I don't want to fight over everything. I want companies who see the value in what we bring to them. Right? And there are a lot of companies out there. That's why I say if you have a shitty client who's beating you down to 15%, and every time you send them a candidate, they say, oh, we just need to see 2 or 3 more people, and then we'll make a decision, fire them and find somebody else. Find companies that want to work with you. Find companies who see the value in your fee. Find companies that, when they say they're going to do something, they're going to do something. Right? I always say, every time I send you a candidate, I want yes or no. That's it. Yes, we want to move forward and to the next level or next round or whatever, or no, he's not a good candidate. Not maybe, not let's see what else you can get. No, it is yes or no. He's either a great candidate, let's move forward, or he's not and find us somebody else. And then if you're telling me to find someone, why? What did I miss on this candidate? Where did I miss the mark? Why is he not good? What is he or she missing? If you talk to him on the phone and decide not to hire him, why? What was it? Was it a cultural fit? Was it personality? Was it lack of experience? Was it lack of education? Right? That's all I ask. I got no problem with no's. No's are fine. They get me closer to a yes. What I can't stand is maybes and we'd like to see more people. I hate those. I want no's or yeses. That's it. And there are clients out there that'll do that. They'll take your phone call. They'll pay your fee.
Mm-hmm. Besides reputation, do you also look at like if they have like active job openings and like those kind of things, or not?
I don't. I know a lot of recruiters chase job openings, but then in my mind, all the other recruiters are chasing job openings too. Everybody's chasing job openings. If they have job openings, that means they're advertising them on LinkedIn. That means they're getting active candidates, right? Like I got a search a couple days ago. Tom, we ran ads. We've looked internally. We ran ads again. It's been open for 6 months. Now, will you please fill it for us? Right? All the ads are down. All the internal candidates have applied. It's mine. I'll fill it. It'll take me 2 weeks. That's what I want, right? I want client. And now, And the reason I don't look for ads is like, if I have a really good candidate and it's a progressive company like Brett's guy, I'm going to market to them whether they have openings on their website or not. I don't care. Don't care that you have any openings, right? If you're a progressive company and you're growing and you have projects, and chances are you got some shitty employees. Chances are you got an opening somewhere. Chances are you can move some stuff around. If my guy's that good, you might be willing to talk to him. And the other thing is too, for the sales guy, Brent, before you guys got here, one of my favorite sales pitches was, I got a number one sales rep from direct competitor. When would you like to talk with him? I called every sales manager and said that. I actually did though, but I had the number one sales rep from a metal roofing company. I called every metal roofing competitor, sales manager, and said, hey, I got number one sales rep for the direct competitor. When would you like to talk to him? They would always, opening or not, they would say, is he in, if they had an opening somewhere else? Like, oh, yes, we do. Is he in Chicago? Oh, no, he's in Atlanta. Oh, man. Okay, we got a great guy in Atlanta. No problem, man. I completely understand. What's going on in Chicago? We've had an opening there for 3 weeks. Boom. Now, guess what? Now I'm having a conversation. Forget this MPC. Now we're having a conversation about Chicago. And I got that particular MPC. I ended up placing them with a company called AMS in Georgia. And I probably got 5 or 6 clients out of that call, new clients for other searches. In fact, one of the clients became a very good client and is hired sales guys for me, engineers for me, plant managers for me, and project managers for me. Over that initial call several years ago, I got the number one sales rep from direct competitor. When would you like to talk about? Like, what sales guy would, even if he had not a single location with an opening, wouldn't want to talk to that guy? Right? So I don't care if you don't have an opening, right? You're going to tell me when I call you that. I'm going to say I had no idea if it opened or not, but I got a candidate that is in such high demand. I figured you'd at least want to know about him, right? And then they may say, hey, you're right. That does sound like a good candidate. We would like to talk to him. Or as much as that guy sounds fantastic, Tom, I have 7 rock stars on my team. I'm not letting anybody go, and I don't have the budget to add another one. No problem, man. That's okay. Because not every call gets a job order. Not every call, everyone's going to like you. Not every call, people are going to like my humor, like my obnoxiousness, right? I'm going to get hung up on. I'm going to get told to go pound sand. I'm going to get told, I told you, motherfucker, I got no openings. Click, right? That's going to happen. But that's part of this job, right? I don't care what you're selling. If you get on the phone right now and start selling software, SaaS software, right? You start selling some type of SaaS software for logistics or for inventory. You're going to get that. You're going to get the same. Are you going to go and see if they have a SaaS software? No, you're going to call because your SaaS software is better. You're going to call because you're trying to solve a problem, right? But whether they, people who sell insurance, right? Everybody's got insurance, but they all seem to sell insurance, even though everybody's got insurance, because people switch insurances. People switch employees. Right? That's how you have to have that mindset. Don't have this mindset of, oh, I'm not going to call that company. They don't have any openings on their website. They don't have any openings on LinkedIn. They don't have any openings on Monster. Who gives a fuck? If you got a rock star candidate that can add impact to the company, you should be talking to a hiring manager. That's why we talk to hiring managers, because HR deals in absolutes like we don't have any openings. Hiring managers don't. They got budgets. They know the future. They know what's going on. They know a lot of stuff that HR doesn't know. So they're going to say, you know what, this guy, we're bidding. In fact, we're on the short list. There's one other company. I know we're going to kill him. We're going to get this project. Yes, Tom, I want to talk to the guy. We'll bring him on because I know we're going to get this mission critical project in Virginia in the next 3 weeks. And I'm going to need him. So yes, I want to talk to your guy. But now, that wouldn't have happened if you saw that company had no openings. You weren't going to call them. But there's no way for you to know if they were bidding a mission critical project in Virginia unless you called them on the phone and overcame the objection of, we don't have any openings, or send me a resume. Right? To me, send me a resume is a buying sign. Right? That's a buying sign. We don't have any openings. That's a little bit different. But send me a resume. That's a buying sign. So we got to talk to HR. That's a brush off to get me off the phone. Right? So yeah, I don't care about openings. I don't. We didn't have access to that, right? I think I was talking to, what was I talking to? Zach. Zach's not here, but Zach comes on sometimes. Talking to Zach today. I did $500,000 before LinkedIn was invented, 3 years in a row. 1999, 2000, 2001. Right? I think LinkedIn was invented in 2003. Right? I did $500,000 before LinkedIn was even a thought. We didn't have Monster. We didn't. Well, maybe we did have Monster and Career Builder. I don't remember. But I didn't have any of this stuff. We had a computer where you could pull lists out of it, right? The internet really wasn't super big yet. There was still stuff there, but we used it to grab lists. We used it to make lists so you could find people and call. We didn't have any way to get cell phone numbers. We didn't have any way to get anybody's email numbers. Everything was we called the company, right? Nobody worked remote. Nobody worked hybrid, right? So if you were trying to market a project manager, you would just call every general contractor in his backyard and say, "Hi, my name's Tom Alashio. You never spoke before. I interviewed this great project manager who's awesome and great. I'm awesome and great. When would you like to talk to him?" Right? That's what we did. When you got to search for a structural engineer in Birmingham, Alabama, I would just go through all the structural engineering firms in Birmingham, Alabama, and source out who worked there, right? By using ruse calls and trickery and all kinds of crazy shit. And then call back in and say, "Can I talk to Brent? Hey, Brent, my name's Tom Last year. I spoke for him, a headhunter. I specialize in structural engineering. I got a great opportunity in your backyard, blah, 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 blah." Right? We had to do all that manually. And I was doing $500,000-$600,000. Now we have all these tools, access to everything. And people want to try and like, "Oh, I'm only going to call companies that have openings. I'm only going to do that." No, man, just get on the phone or send your emails out. But don't look at who's got what. Just have a great candidate that you can make a great presentation about and let everyone know, whether it's by call or by email, and try to make connections, try to have conversations, try to make an impact, try to fact find and update your ATS so you know when to call guys. You know, someone says, "Well, Tom, the hardest position for us to fill is metal building detailers. If you ever come across a metal building detailer, please call me." You put that in your little tickler file, right? And then you're out there doing your stuff and you happen to talk to a guy, you think you're calling an engineer, and he says, "Oh, I'm a metal building detailer. My wife's on work release. If I want to see her, I need to move, right, to Orlando." And you think, "Oh, I talked to that guy in Orlando." And you go back and, "Oh, metal build. Oh, he loves detailers. This guy's a detailer." Boom, you got a placement. Because you took the time to have the conversation to find out what's the hardest position for that guy to fill, right? What does he want? When should I say it to candidates? Fine, you're happy where you're at. You love this company. You're never leaving right now. But when should I call you? What should I call you? Like if I have a position in a different state, when should I call you? Because let's be realistic, Brent. Let's be realistic, Heather. You're not staying for the gold watch. That doesn't exist anymore. No one stays at companies for 25 years anymore, right? So while you may not be wanting to make a move now, you got kids, you got a wife, whatever. I get it, but there's going to be a time you're going to make a move. And if I come across the right opportunity, what does that opportunity look like? So I don't forget to call you. Yeah, the tech space, those guys jump around. Like I remember when we first got in, when tech started becoming a thing, and we really didn't work it, but I would go to meetings and meet colleagues, and we'd be talking about, job hoppers, right? So to me, it used to be, if you were at a company, left the company after 2 years, we didn't touch you. That was my boss's steadfast rule. Somebody, unless they have like the company went under or something like that, that's one thing. But like guy, that's a job hopper. Guy, two jobs, 2 years, 2 years, that's a job hopper. That's normal. That's considered like a tenured employee who's at a company for more than 2 years in the tech industry, right? You're an old timer. You've been there for like we couldn't wrap our heads around that early on in my career. Going to these shows, I was like, dude, really? Like they'll hire a guy after a year, Tom? Yeah, these companies are so desperate, and these guys can just jump around and make moves, and nobody cares. Like, that's insane. How do you deal with warranties? But it is what it is, because it's a different industry that I wasn't used to. And now I've got guy like COVID really helped a lot of job hoppers, right? Oh, it was COVID. That's why I got laid off. It was COVID, right? Okay. But, I still try to stay away from guys who, I don't like job hoppers. You have to have a really good explanation of why you've had 4 jobs in 6 years. I'm going to need some really good explanations if I'm going to get a $30,000 fee for you. Questions? Come on, guys. Come on. It's we got 12 minutes.
I got one. Where did you find that list of the construction firms that work in the data center space? Was that on building design and construction?
Building design plus construction. So bdcnetwork.com is the actual website for the company, or for the website, and then they have all different types of lists. But that's just one. I was saying E&R's got one for design for it. Let me see. Let's see. We got top 50 data center firms 2024. Who builds data centers? Top 10 data center construction companies in Data Center Magazine. So data center spelled CENTRE. Data Center Magazine. Best data center contractors in General Contractors Magazine. That's www.generalcontractors.org. Let's see, mission critical, and then once if you do like top data center construction companies in Google, the companies like, once you get to this next results, you're going to get like Fortis' website, DPR's website. What else we got here? Engineering news, like I said, engineering news record. So they have a ENR.com data centers. They show items tagged with data centers. You can look at all the articles and go through there and see who's building the data centers through there as well, right? So there's lots of resources out there, but and that's what I would do, right? I would go through and try to find who's building the data centers in whatever area. You can also go to some of the websites. One second. You can go to some of the websites that have like the contracts that are out, that are bidded out and stuff like that, and see who's building what. And what I did find out that was interesting about the data centers is you have these top 50 guys, but you also have actual companies that'll call themselves like where's the one? CNC Technology Group. Right? They build data centers for Amazon, Google, and Microsoft, right? They're not a general contractor, right? They do it all. They'll go out and find the land, right? They'll get the permits, they'll buy the land, they'll hire the general contractor to build the data center, right? They'll hire the architect to design the data center. And then once it's all been done, they'll help maintain it and manage the data center. Right. So that's another group that hires construction people too. So your MPC, he might be good for a GC, but also look at the data center developers, I guess, is what you would call them. There's a big list of them too that employ construction people because they're buying land and building data centers for let's say tomorrow, like, what was that? Didn't we have like a lotto? It was like $1 billion or something. Say you won the lotto tomorrow for $1 billion, right? And you got all this money sitting around. Now you want to invest it. I want to build a data center in Virginia. You call one of these companies and say, hey, I want to build a data center. Here's $300 million. Let's build one. And they'll do all that for you. And then you own a data center that you can rent to whoever, OpenAI, Anthropic, whoever, and then that's yours. Like, that's an option too. So there are more places than just the GCs. The subcontractors, right? Depending on what your guy is. Like, if he works for a GC who self-performs their own concrete, and he's involved in self-performed concrete, you should be calling all the concrete subcontractors that are doing data centers, right? If he's got an electrical background, call the electrical contractors. And again, it's okay, right? If you want to expand and you want to market an MPC, it's okay to make a mistake and go, oh, I thought you guys did X, and then start a conversation with the guy. Call the VP of construction of every single contractor and subcontractor, regardless of size, in the area your MPC will move to, and talk to everybody who has their hands in data centers. I don't care if it's a subcontractor. I don't care if it's a general contractor. I don't care if it's the developer or whatever. They're going to have information for you, and they may hire your guy. You may have a subcontractor that goes, I don't care. He's working for a GC. We're dying. Anybody who can handle a crew and read blueprints and make sure our guys get there on time between the other guys, I want to talk to them. And your guy might say, yeah, I'll go work for a subcontractor if they're going to pay me $140 grand or whatever it is, right? There's nothing wrong with that either. It's okay. Like when I called up the companies, and like, I get the #1 sales rep from your direct competitor, and they'd be like, we sell metal panels. We don't sell metal roofing. Oh, my mistake. But this guy bringing it, no, we're all architectural. He doesn't, does he do any architectural work? No, he doesn't. All we do is architectural. We need guys who can call on architects that can specify them. Now you're having a conversation and I'm learning about metal panels. That's what NPCs do for you. They get you to talk to hiring managers and get information and possibly get you a job order and possibly get you a placement or a send out. But more importantly, it's a way for you to start a conversation with someone, to make a connection with someone, and to gather information in an industry that you want to work in a position that you want to fill. That's what that can do. And it's okay. That's why I was like, oh, did they have any open? No, man, just put a list together. Put a list together of 50 phone calls you're going to make the next 4 days in a row into that area that has to deal with data centers. Just do that. And have your pitch ready. Say your pitch, stumble over it, try to overcome the objections, stumble over that, and you're just going to get better. But at the end of the day, what happens if the guy's mean to you? What happens if it's not a successful call? Absolutely fucking nothing happens. You're going about your day. You're worrying about shit what can happen? I can call 100 candidates right now. Every single one can scream at me and tell me I'm a piece of shit. And guess what? I'm no different than I am sitting here right now, other than 100 structural engineers hate me. That's it. How does that affect my life? It doesn't. Right? It doesn't.
I love it.
They can't come through the phone. They're not going to knock on your door and beat you up, right? What are they going to do? Nobody's going to do anything to you. No one. There's no negative other than you get hung up on, other than it's uncomfortable, other than someone doesn't like you. And if you really care that much, some stranger you've never talked to before doesn't like you, you got bigger problems than this job. Right? Like, I mean, someone tell me I'm wrong. Someone tell me, like, hey Tom, you're off base because of this. Like, I can't. I've tried. You know, I've steel manned myself. I can't figure out how cold calling's negative, other than the fact it's uncomfortable. And people, oh, nobody answers the phone. Well, call more people. Did you hit 0? Did you have the guy paged? Did you ask the secretary if he was in the office? Did you ask the secretary for his cell phone number? Did you ask the secretary to transfer you? Or did you call the number, got a voicemail, and hung up and said, oh, nobody answers the phone? Did you leave a message like I did at the tattoo parlor the guy went to get you to call him back? Right? I don't know if anybody's heard that story. I was doing a search for a shredder manager in Van Wert, Ohio. Anybody ever been to Van Wert, Ohio? It makes Norfolk, Nebraska look like Las Vegas, right? It is in the middle of nowhere. There's nothing there, right? And I needed a shredder manager there. I found a guy that lived 30 miles away, had an awesome background, but you know what? I could not find his number for the life of me. BIM verified. And finally, on BIM verified, I drove through Van Wert all the time. So I found the guys on BIM verified, got me some info, but it got me a tattoo parlor number. That was it. It got me his Facebook, but I sent him a connection request. Obviously he didn't do it. The reason I knew about his tattoo parlor, because on his Facebook, he had some pictures, some ink he got, big sleeves of ink, right? And it's really good looking stuff. And he said, oh, shout out to, North Point Ink or whatever, right? Fine, fuck it. Hey, my name is Tom Alassio. Can you tell Brent Stash to give me a call? I'm a headhunter. I got a great opportunity for him and right in his backyard. That was what I left at the tattoo parlor. That was the message. 2 days later, I get a call. Hey, Tom, you left a message for me in my tattoo parlor. I'm intrigued. 2 weeks later, I get a check for $40,000. Now, had I not left that, I probably never would have got a hold of that guy. Right? Had I not been obnoxious to the guy in California or in Florida who worked for Tilden Lobson Cooper, he probably wouldn't have called me back. Right? You have nothing to lose. You have everything to gain. That's why I say to candidates, they kind of him and haw about, I'm happy where I'm at, and we start talking. I said, look, man, it's just a phone conversation with me. I don't even know if you're qualified. It seems like you are, but I don't even know if my client will like you, right? But I think it's worth your time. 20 minutes, that's it. Yeah, nothing to lose but 20 minutes of your time, and you have everything to gain because you're going to be talking to a hiring manager from a direct competitor. To whether you take a job with them now or not, you're going to have that contact for the future. You're going to get some insight on one of your competitors. You're going to be talking to a guy that you might not have been able to, get your foot in the door with, but now you have a new connection in your industry. Isn't that worth 20? That's what you're going to lose. That's all you're going to lose, 20 minutes time. What you stand to gain is maybe a fantastic opportunity for you and your family to put more money in your pocket, give you better work-life balance. Isn't that worth the 20-minute conversation? Regardless of what happens, you lose nothing but 20 minutes of your time and gain at minimum a connection in your industry, at maximum a fantastic opportunity for you and your family. That seems like a pretty damn good return on investment, if you ask me. Right? I mean, that's why I struggle when people are always like, not to pick on him, on Hazuva, but you don't need to find out if they have openings. Just call them up and tell them how great your candidate is, or call them up and tell them how great you are. The only people I won't call is someone who last name is the same name as the guy, the president of the company. Probably not going to recruit that guy, right? Like there's some stuff you can look at and say, I'm not a company that's in bankruptcy, right? Probably not going to call them, right? Like there are, I'm sure there are companies I won't call, but in general, if I'm starting out, I want to, bust into the data center world, I am calling every single data center, construction, subcon, anybody that's got the word data center in their profile somewhere. They're getting a phone call from me in Virginia, in Georgia, in San Francisco, in Seattle. It doesn't matter. I'm doing everything just so I can get my name out there. Because someone might say to me, well, Tom, we don't have an opening for a project manager, but I was at a builders meeting the other day and XYZ Corp is struggling. They need a project manager. And for whatever reason, they weren't on your list. You're not going to find that unless you have conversations with people. Because you can ask those questions. Who do you know? Who do you know that could use a guy like this? You're building all these data centers. You're doing. Is there any of your subs that are dying that I could help that could use a guy like this? How about your developers? Are there any developers that could use a guy like this? Right? All those conversations can be had. Do you use recruiters? How often do you use recruiters? Right? Do you have a pet recruiter? Right? Have you been called by recruiters lately? What positions do they call you about? What about you, Mr. Employer? Would you make a job change? Oh, you know what? I love it here, but, Tom, if you had something with a data center company in South Carolina, we have a vacation home there. I would move there if you could get me what I'm making now in South Carolina. Now, granted, it might be hard to market a VP, but if you're building your network and you're talking to people, you may stumble across a company that says, man, we are looking for a senior level VP in North Carolina. And you wouldn't have known that unless you asked the hiring manager when you were trying to get him to interview your MPC, whether or not he would consider an opportunity. Every call you have on the phone with a person to ask them all kinds of things, all kinds. And why don't you? You're afraid?
I think a lot of people just don't have that skill to be able to actually sell the position to the person or actually communicate all those things effectively. And I think that's why a lot of people fray away from calling, especially nowadays.
I started, I had to learn. I started in October 13th, 1997. You know what? First of all, everybody, I never graduated college. I went to community college for a few months and dropped out. I barely made it out of high school. I am a dumbass, right? I was a bartender. That's all I was. Beverage manager, bartender. I ran a bar for a restaurant, right? That's it. So when I got on the phone, I knew nothing about anything in sales, marketing, recruiting. I didn't know anything. So I made those calls and I stumbled over myself and I got hung up on I just got better and better and better and learned how to sell and learned how to do those things. You have to start somewhere. I was an idiot. Yes, Heather.
I think the biggest lesson learned for me has been that gatekeepers aren't really keeping any gates right now. And where I started by I've got to find these numbers, and I was getting all these wrong numbers with all these credits. I just call the main number and I just literally sail right past to the person. And it's been the fastest path. Mm-hmm. And I think I got hung up on all these people saying it's going to be so hard. And the way to get there isn't to do all these tricks that everybody was talking about. It's just to call the main number
first,
and it's so simple.
What is it? The least passive resistance first. That's what you do first, right? Try that first, right? And I get people like, oh, you'll call a candidate at the office? Well, why not? Again, what's going to happen if you can't get a hold of Heather, who's a engineer or whatever, you're trying to recruit engineers, and you have a cell phone, they don't enter a cell phone. You send them an email, they don't do that. You send them a LinkedIn. Now, what's going to happen if you call the company that Heather's working for and say, I talk to Heather, please? And they patch you through and she answers. You get to say your pitch. You get to try to sell her. And if it doesn't work, you try to overcome her objections. And if she recognizes your name and said, you sent me an email, you sent me a connection request, I ignored you. What do you think I'd do? Well, I had to try.
It's
Nothing's
really
gonna
shocking
happen.
how many have the electronic directory. So you just call and get the directory and just
Mhm.
float right to the right person. No credits used, no time spent, easy peasy.
We did
I-
not
I-
have cell phones in 2000. Like some people did, but it was extremely expensive. I had one that was ridiculously. I didn't want anybody to call me anytime on it until after 7 o'clock when I had 3 minutes, right? It was super expensive. You had to call people at work. Before, I mean, everyone called everyone at work. That was the only way you could get a hold of people. And for some strange reason, now it's like, oh my God, I can't believe you call a candidate at work. What? Like, when I started, there was no other way to find them. There was no other way. You had to call them at work. Project manager, estimator, sales guy. You had to, sales guys didn't even have cell phones back then. That was sucked when you got a sales search, because how do you get a hold of a guy who's never in the office and there's no cell phones, right? Like this mindset of I don't want to call people at work. I don't want to bother them. Fuck you. You are not bothering anyone. You have value. You are presenting an opportunity to them. You are trying to make their life better. And if someone says, stop bothering me, you tell them to go fuck themselves, because you're not bothering them. Anyone that thinks you are bothering them doesn't know what we do, doesn't know the value we bring. And you can come, I will tell you that right now. Someone acts like that to me on the phone, that's what I say back. I don't mind saying it. Maybe I'm crass or whatever it is, but I add value. I help companies grow. I help companies make millions of dollars. I'm not bothering anyone. Yeah, maybe you don't want to hear from me. Fine, just tell me and move on. Don't you dare tell me I'm bothering you. I'm not bothering you. Anyone else? Anyone else? I get on these tangents sometimes because I feel like, you know, the idea behind how this job gets done, people like don't understand it. And I had a buddy, you know, good friend, is a recruiter, and wouldn't tell people was a recruiter because he was embarrassed. As he would say, we're bothering people. Like, we had to beat that. Like, I remember we worked at Peterson together. We beat it out of them, basically. Like, dude, what the hell is wrong with you? Look what you're doing. Look how you're helping companies. And I have never in my entire life doing this job have stolen anyone from anyone. I have never went to their job, grabbed a guy, hit him over the head with a club, put him in a bag, and drug him to my client. Every single person I talked to went on their own accord because I had a better opportunity for him. I have never stolen anyone. And the idea that we steal people, the idea that we're flesh peddlers, the idea that we bother people, right? That really gets under my skin, because we are just as valuable as an accounting firm. We are just as valuable as a consulting firm, probably more consulting firm, right? We're just as valuable as the attorneys they use, the marketing team that they use. We add that much value. What we bring them capital, we bring them human capital to help their companies grow. We are that valuable. That is why you should not take a 15% fee. That's why you shouldn't get raked over the coals on your fees. That's why you shouldn't work on a search with 7 other recruiters and they treat you like shit, because you add value. You are good at what you do. You add human capital. You help these companies grow. You make these companies better, and you make these candidates' lives better. That's not a bother. That's not stealing. That's not flesh peddling. That is helping companies and people become better. And on that, I think we'll end it, unless there's any other questions before we go. See you, Hazuba. As always, thanks for stopping by, guys.
Big thanks, Alan.
Don't forget, every Tuesday at 5 p.m. we do this. As obnoxious as I am, we also do every Friday at 12:30 with the Recruiter Roundtable. And then our sister show, Dominic Miani does the Business Development Roundtable on Thursdays at noon. Until then, have a great week. And don't forget to smile and dial. I'm out.
All right.
Adios. Bye-bye.